I almost didn't pay attention. If I had arrived at the park 5 minutes later, I might have missed the entire story. It was a hot Tuesday morning in Umuchukwu. The kind of morning when the sun rises angrily and the red dust hangs stubbornly in the air. I had boarded a coaster bus heading to the city, grumbling about the bad road and the conductor who kept shouting, "One more person! Just one more!" That was when I noticed her. She sat quietly by the window, neat wrapper, modest blouse, a small leather handbag on her lap. Not flashy, not loud. But there was something about her composure. Later I would learn her name was Eberenna, a woman in her mid-40s carrying more thoughts than luggage. She looked like someone who had rehearsed courage before leaving home. The bus was not yet full. We were all sweating and impatient when a young, handsome man climbed in. Confident. Simple white shirt. He scanned the bus and stopped beside her. "Good morning, Ma," he said politely. "Is this seat free?" Her smile. It was the kind that starts shy and then blooms. "Yes, it is." He sat. That was how it began. The journey. I pretended to sleep, but my ears were wide awake. His name was Ekenna. They started with harmless talk. The weather, the bad road, the rising cost of fuel. Then the conversation deepened. He asked about her work. She told him she sold fabrics in the local market but felt stuck. "I've been in Umuchukwu too long," she admitted. "Maybe it's sea finish that has kept things the way they are." There was something heavier beneath her words. Later, when we stopped briefly because the bus tire got stuck in muddy sand, I overheard her whisper into her phone when she thought no one was listening. "If I don't meet someone serious before my next birthday, I feel it won't happen again." Her voice broke slightly. I remember thinking, what kind of belief is that? The road was terrible that day. At some point we all had to come down and push the bus. Dust covered our clothes. Yet, through it all, Ekenna never stopped talking to her, cracking jokes, shielding her from splashing mud, offering her sachet water. I watched her laugh freely, the kind of laughter that sounds like it has not been used in a while. By the time we reached the city, they exchanged contacts. When they stepped down, they walked in opposite directions but kept turning back for one last glance. I smiled to myself. Some stories announce themselves early. Silence and doubt. 2 months passed. Life carried me back to the same city. One afternoon at a shopping mall I saw her again. She looked beautiful. City life seemed to suit her, but there was restlessness in her steps. Then suddenly, from the escalator, I saw Ekenna approaching. Their eyes met. Then tension. He apologized immediately. "I'm sorry. I should have called." She folded her arms slightly. "You should have." He explained he had been trying to stabilize his business, chasing contracts, traveling between towns. He said he didn't want to begin something serious while uncertain. She nodded, but I could tell she was guarding her heart. After that day they exchanged polite messages. Nothing serious. Slowly, communication faded again. And I thought maybe that bus ride was just a beautiful coincidence. 2 days to her birthday. Fate, however, was not done. 2 days before her birthday, I was again at the same bus park, preparing to return home. As I waited, I saw Eberenna standing alone, staring at her phone like someone waiting for a miracle. Then it rang. I was close enough to hear her sharp inhale. It was him. That evening, they spoke for hours. I would later hear from her cousin, who is my neighbor. Ekenna confessed something surprising. The day they met, he had just come out of a failed relationship with someone who constantly belittled him for not being successful enough. Meeting Eberenna that day felt peaceful, but he was afraid. Afraid of disappointing her. Afraid of the age difference. Afraid of gossip. So he ran. But he couldn't forget her. 2 days to her birthday. He decided to confront his fear. The twist no one expected. On the eve of her birthday, he invited her to meet him at the bus park, the very place they met. I was there again. Some people call it coincidence. Call it divine arrangement. But something unexpected happened. As she approached, another woman stormed into the park, shouting Ekenna's name. My heart jumped. The woman accused him loudly, saying he had once promised her marriage too. The park fell silent. Eberenna froze. It was chaos. But then truth unfolded. The woman was someone he had dated briefly. He had ended things months before meeting Eberenna. She had refused to accept it and had been following him. Ekenna stood firm. I ended this long ago. I cannot build my future on confusion. The woman eventually left, embarrassed. Eberenna looked shaken. For a moment I thought she would walk away. But instead she asked calmly, "Are you certain about what you want?" He didn't kneel immediately. He didn't rush. He looked her straight in the eyes and said, "For the first time in my life I am." Then he brought out the ring. Right there. In the open. In dust and noise and imperfection. "Marry me." Her birthday clock was ticking. Tears streamed down her face. Not from fear anymore, but from release. Yes. The park erupted into applause. Even I clapped like it was my own sister. The journey back. Weeks later, I boarded a bus to Umuchukwu again. And there they were. Same type of coaster bus. Same side seat. But this time, their fingers were intertwined. Wedding list on her lap. They were going to inform her parents. The road was still rough. The dust still rose. The conductor still shouted. But something had changed. Eberenna no longer carried desperation. She carried peace. When they arrived, her parents received them with cautious joy that quickly turned into celebration. I attended the wedding months later. Yes, I was invited. Small town life makes witnesses part of the story. On her wedding day she glowed. Not because she had beaten a deadline, but because she had overcome fear. What I learned as an eyewitness. I watched this story from the beginning. From a simple question on a dusty bus to a wedding filled with laughter. And I learned something powerful. Destiny does not work with panic. Eberenna believed she had a deadline before her birthday. But love did not come because of the deadline. Came because courage replaced fear. If she had allowed that dramatic scene at the park to scare her away, the story would have ended differently. If Ekenna had continued running from his insecurities, the seat would have remained just a seat. But they both chose bravery. Moral of the story. Never let fear write prophecies over your life. There is no expiry date on love. What is meant for you may test your patience, but it will not miss your address. And sometimes, the greatest turning point in your life begins with a simple question on a dusty morning. Is this seat free?